back to Frank and I being raised there on 6th Street. Frank had 2 older brothers and a sister, but he and I were about the same age, so we had the lemonade stand where we made lemonade and sold it out in front. And I remember one time there was a guy. Now remember, this was during the war, and times were pretty tough. This fella raised hogs, and there was no city garbage pickup or anything. So he would come down the street, I think twice a week, with his horse and wagon and pick up the wet garbage from the people and haul it off for him, but he would take it home and feed it to his hogs. Well, Frank and I naturally had bean shooters, or we shot marbles principally. And we were over behind some bushes in front of Frank's house one day, and this guy stopped across the street, walked around behind Armour's house to pick up the garbage, and we accidentally shot the horse, and the horse took off going west on 6th Street. And bear in mind, there were no curbs and gutters, there were ditches on each side. And it ran a block down there, and the wagon turned over, dumped all the garbage out a block west of where we were there on 400 East 6th. And, let's see, Pat Nichols, and the Nichols girls lived down in the next block. Nadine Wilson, Jim Wilson's wife, was raised in the next block. There was a little East Side grocery that was a block south of us, and everything was a lot of neighborhoods. Another stunt we used to pull, I'm a little ashamed to admit all this, but now that I look back, it's kind of part of the memories. His dad was quite a quail hunter, and he had some good bird dogs, but there was one bird dog named Jerry, and Jerry was a fair-sized dog, a pointer, and Jerry was really fond of Frank and I, and Frank fed dogs, so they liked him. Well, there used to be a segregated area in Claremore over around Lincoln School, and best barbecue in the world those guys over there made. But anyway, there was a place called Radium Town, which was up about 3 blocks north of where we lived and a block east. And it had a bathhouse and some places, and people would come here and bathe their way to health in our radium water. And the people who worked there lived over in the, I'm going to call it the black area of town. And as I said, the town was segregated and they had their own school. Well, they would walk up 6th from their area to go to Radium Town to work in the bathhouses. Well, Frank and I would sit out behind the bushes with Jerry, and as they'd come walking by, he could sick Jerry on people. And he would sick Jerry on the guy walking by, then we would take off, and Jerry would take off after the guy, and they'd start running. And if they ran 2 lots or 2 houses, we'd run behind and holler, "Oh, Jerry," and act like we were trying to stop him from doing it when we really created the problem. We did that many times. I remember there was a vacant lot on the corner, and this is a minor thing, but his brother Nick milked the cow. Well, in the summertime, we would run by and agitate Nick when he was milking. Well, Nick, when he got a chance, would then turn the cow's bag up and spray us with raw milk. Well, many times he would hit us real good, and usually the rest of the day, you didn't have any trouble finding us for the swarm of flies that was hanging around us eating that sweet raw milk. We used to go down and watch the girls. They were cheerleaders, and they practiced in the back of Pat Nichols' house. So we hung out in the alley behind there and peeked through the fence and watched the girls work out. But we weren't the only ones. A lot of the older guys in high school were there too. And I remember one time we ratted on them or something, and they caught us and took our shoes off, and they had little thin wooden paddles, and they paddled the bottom of our feet. And it hurt like the dickens, but you couldn't see anything. We could tell our mother that our feet hurt, but it didn't make any sense to them. It was because we had probably done something we shouldn't. This is disjointed, but I'm trying to think of little things that I remember one time. George Pritchard. Now, George Pritchard married, oh gosh, I'll think of her name in a minute. Anyway, before George was married, his dad, George, found an old car, and all it was a frame and a motor. And I remember he and his dad got the car running, and they turned the corner there on 5th Street, testing it out, and he had set a wooden box for a seat, and the box slipped out, and he fell through the frame, and I can remember him steering the car and running on the street and trying to put the brake on with his hand. And we thought that was one of the funniest things we had ever seen, and it's a wonder he didn't get killed. But George always did a lot of strange things. He used to go to Arkansas diamond hunting all the time.